What up, everybody? It's Aaron with Robert. This is Get You Geek On, and this is where we review shows. And today we're reviewing Loki episode 5. You know the names, I don't.
Journey into Mystery, which is actually
the name of the comics.
The name of the comic where like Thor debuted. I think Loki did too. And then eventually it morphed into just being called Thor. But it was originally Journey into Mystery, so we get a nice little Easter egg right there, right off the bat.
Right, like
name of the episode.
True. So, I don't know. You want to start going into it? I guess.
I mean,
I
sure.
don't know how we want to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both agreed that last week's episode of Loki was the best of the series so far, and I think in both of our opinions was the best episode of Disney Plus television whatsoever.
Oh yeah, I agree.
This one builds on it, and I liked it. I didn't like it quite as much as episode 4. But it had a lot of really great moments, really great Easter eggs, and I loved the dynamic between all the different Lokis.
Yes.
I think this episode was a lot of fun. Didn't advance the storyline as much with the TVA as I was kind of hoping. It seems like we've got a lot of threads to wrap up in one final episode, which has kind of been a running theme with both WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Is like they kind of are cramming a lot into that final hour.
They really do.
And I do feel like it's getting a little stale. Like I want them to... I don't want them to be in the trap where every storyline has to resolve in the final episode. Yeah. Like, different storylines can resolve at different times throughout the season, and it just feels like they're constructing all of their shows to have storylines all converge and end in the final episode. And that does make for a little bit of a setup, penultimate episode. Yeah. And then the final episode... usually, like in the first two, really felt like jam-packed and like maybe there's a little bit too much. So I'm hoping we don't get that with Loki.
I hope so too. I think you're right. This really did build upon the previous episode. Yeah. And we get all of our Loki variants pretty much that I guess you could say have existed possibly.
Or survived.
Yeah, or survived. And we get to see where everything's going to go. And I think this one, though, it wasn't so much pushing the story as it was pushing the character. Yeah. We get more... We're kind of rounding out Loki now. Like, now he's become a full-rounded character in 5 episodes, you could say, plus the movies we got, because that's the only time frame he knows, from Thor to Avengers, and that's it. Yep. So I like that we kind of wrap him up in that sense, and we get a full circle Loki now. But you're right, it felt like this was just trying to rush to get everybody where they need to be real quick for the final, we got to close 1, 2, 3, 4, plot lines, because we also don't know if we're getting a season 2, possibly. This, I think, is it. I don't know if they're doing another season. I mean,
they've definitely talked. There's been a lot of rumors that this show is one that could continue.
I mean, I can see it continuing.
And I think that, WandaVision was very much a contained story. Right. Just around that.
And she's leading into the movies anyway.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier was, that particular story of those two characters, on the journey that they were on in that moment. So... Could they do another series with those two characters? They absolutely could, but I don't know that I would ever feel comfortable saying it's season 2. Yeah. This one, it feels like we could have seasons that build upon one another. Exactly. But I also think we're going to get a fairly satisfying conclusion.
I think we will. And I do want to talk, so we got all the Lokis. Yeah. We had classic Loki, Kid Loki, one who killed...
Boastful Loki.
Yeah, Boastful Loki, that's right.
And Alligator Loki.
Alligator Loki, playing the long game.
Alligator Loki is a standout of this episode. Like, anytime they want a joke, they just cut to Alligator Loki just, sitting there, and it works. It's okay, this is funny. Or, I think, again, spoiler alert, by the way, as I don't think we said that yet in this episode. We are going to spoil things. I love that moment where he attacks the president Loki and bites his hand off.
Clean off.
I'm like, this alligator's awesome.
He was my favorite character. My favorite Loki was him. And I like that Mobius is like, how do we know? Because Mobius is still alive. I love that we got him again. Yep. And I love how his comment...
I think was pretty obvious from the reveal last week. Like, once you found out Loki was alive, it's like, okay, well... Mobius is going to be alive too.
But I loved his comment. He's like, so how do you know he's Loki? And the classic Loki, he's green. And he's like, well, he could just be playing the long game, but that'd be very Loki. I love that whole thing because he's trying to think, is it really a Loki? Yeah. But then maybe it's not a Loki, but to do the act to be a Loki, you're still a Loki, so you're a Loki. It just, So stupid little thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, there was a ton of little Easter eggs too. We got the Thanos copter.
Yeah.
We had Frog Thor. We saw the hammer again.
Frog Thor leaping for the hammer. That was fun.
We got to see the destroyed Sanctum Sanctorum. I mean, it was completely devastated. Yeah. I don't know. We got a lot of little ones, like you said, the title.
Yeah, Stanley.
The Stanley
showing up
TVA.
Again in the TVA.
I do like that we're doing that. I love how it plays homage to him because like he's not there, so it's like I'm glad we're still somehow doing this, and I hope Marvel.
Yeah, he was kind of always the face of Marvel too. Like he really is. Like Kurt. This series is very Kirby-esque. In terms of like how crazy it is and the visuals and all that stuff.
It's a Jack Kirby right there.
So we're definitely getting Jack Kirby's getting some love too, but Stan Lee was always kind of the face. But I do want to talk. I think one of the scenes that I was a little bit confused by.
Okay.
Was early in the episode when Sylvie's still at the TVA and she's talking with Ravonna Renslayer, and they reach kind of an uneasy alliance of like,
for like 30 seconds.
We both want the same goals, and so we're going to work together a little bit. But you can tell that Sylvie does not trust her at all, nor should she.
She sells by
I'm
the seashore.
Struggling with my words. And you can see that she doesn't really trust her, and of course she does get betrayed pretty quickly.
Obvious betrayal. Here, what is it?
But I guess my question was, there's two questions. So number one, Sylvie clearly believes what she says about the pruning not being death. Right? Because then she prunes herself.
Yeah.
So she clearly believed that part of whatever Ravonna Renslayer was saying to her. And so my question was, as soon as that was the information she was working with, why didn't she just prune Ravonna, prune herself, have the tempad, and go? Like, that was like, so if her ultimate decision was that, she was going to prune herself to get to Loki, why not just prune Ravonna, prune herself, and go there anyways? Like, so it was like, either she shouldn't have believed her about what happens when they pruned, or if she did believe her, I felt like she should have made that choice earlier. I don't know. Did you read it the same way, or?
Mine was a little opposite. So, obviously, she knows something happens with... Going with Ravonna's side, she knows something happens when they prune. They go to this other void. The void.
The void is like, which is at the end of time, like blah, blah, blah. Okay.
And she knows she has the tempad, but she doesn't seem... Like, she's concerned a little bit, but it's not, like, overly concerned, like, oh, crap, she has a tempad. Like, I just sent Mobius there. We have Loki's there, a Loki at least, and now Sylvie. And I'm not gonna. Well, yeah, I'm gonna look into who created the Timekeepers and the TVA, but I'm not. I didn't feel like urgency.
And she drops a line that like they can't travel there by tempad because they can't get a lock on it. But then my question is, how do they program all their pruning devices to know exactly where it's sending someone? Like, so there's a lot
obviously, Mobius uses the tempad to get out.
Well, I think you can get out of there with one. Okay, she was saying you can't get in with one.
Yeah, see.
Which, again, how do their pruning devices know where to send them? I mean, there are questions that I don't feel are explained.
I feel I should default to one line. Okay. Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. And that's it. That's all.
Okay. All right, Doctor Who. So anyways, I did have a little question with that. I liked that you could tell Sylvie didn't trust her, but I was a little bit like, just take care of this, Sylvie. Like, don't wait around. Her decision to self-prune, I thought, was...
I thought it was good.
It was one of those things where it didn't really take me by surprise, as much as I just was like, okay, I appreciate that. That was consistent for the character. Like,
exactly.
It felt right.
And I did like, we got Miss Time, or the little clock.
Miss Minutes.
Miss Minutes. The voice actress who does her did comment that she wasn't done yet, and I'm glad that we got a little bit more of her in this episode, so I'm kind of curious how much more we're going to get of her.
Every time we've been in the TVA, we've gotten a little bit with Miss Minutes.
And I think she's something. She's obviously intelligent. She's some type of AI.
There's people saying that she might be the ultimate villain. I don't necessarily think that, although I do have a theory about who the villain is, which we'll get to.
Now, I do think Miss Minutes is an AI, and I do think whoever she created her is the main villain. But I think you're right. I don't think she's the main villain because she's not overly smart, I think. Yeah. Because she still is helping just enough. So I'm like, I think somebody created you as an ultimate AI, but you're still not. You're not in charge.
Yeah, I don't know. But let's talk about the Void.
Okay, the Void.
So the Void. Loki's in the Void. He gets hooked up with the other Lokis, and basically they're telling him like survive. That's all we do is survive. And he's like, no, we need a plan. You're Lokis, and they're like, we all made plans, and all of them failed. We just survive. That's what we do.
They're all smartasses. I have to say that.
Yeah, well, it's great. And so they go kind of back to their headquarters, and you're getting like some of their story. You find out about classic Loki, who basically is, if our Loki that we had, if he had, had strong enough magic, this is his future.
Yeah, because he even comments swords and daggers slow him down or something.
Well, he was just talking about how, everything in his life went according to plan. Mm-hmm. And, up to the same thing we saw with our Loki, with Thanos and everything. But then instead of actually dying at Thanos' hands, he, projected a version of himself to die and faked his death and then went off and lived in isolation where he wasn't interacting with anyone else, so he wasn't creating new branches. But as soon as he tried to, that's when they caught up to him and pruned him. And so you could see Loki, seeing this destiny of isolation, of death, of all of those things, and seeing Sylvie has really pulled him out of that mindset.
Yeah.
And he really wants to get back. I love his inspirational speech, we're gonna do this, and come on, guys, and then they all just laugh.
They're just yeah, whatever.
It's no, that's
we've heard this a million times.
Yeah.
Now I think out of all of them, honestly, Classic and Alligator are my favorites. We get to see President Loki. We saw other Lokis in that room that were
I love that it just turns into an entire betrayal fest.
Oh yeah, it is.
They're all the Lokis. Boastful Loki betrays the kid in classic Loki, and then you've got President Loki that
gets betrayed by all of them.
Well, he betrays boastful Loki, and then all the other Lokis betray President Loki, and it just turns into a giant free for all.
I think Classic Loki said it best. Yeah, Classic Loki said it best. No matter what we try to do and try to be better, that we're always hurting somebody, backstabbing somebody, doing something wrong.
Yeah, it was kind of like...
It was interesting.
This is the path we're destined for and we can't change. Mm-hmm. And then you got Kid Loki saying, and anytime one of us does try to change, we end up here. And so, again, it comes back to what was previously discussed by Mobius with Loki, saying, this is your destiny. You are supposed to die, and you're supposed to cause pain and destruction and make other people the best version of themselves. That's your destiny. Well, that's the sacred timeline TVA destiny of Loki. Exactly. But it doesn't necessarily, as Mobius then said in our last episode, you can choose to be different. And I think this is where you're finally seeing Loki accept that he can choose to be different, and his choices that he makes at the end of the episode with Sylvie. He is going to, as Cap would say it, he's going to make the sacrifice play.
Yep.
He's going to lay down on the wire. That's... Yep. He's going to do that, which is something he never would have done before. Even in Infinity War, when Thanos kills him, he's not trying to sacrifice himself.
No. He's trying to kill him.
He's trying to, yes, he is doing something heroic, but it's not in a sacrificial way. No. He's not going to be the Black Widow in Infinity War or in Endgame. No. He's not going to be Tony Stark. He's not going to be Captain America. He's not there to make the sacrifice play. But by the end of this episode, he's doing it.
I think so. I mean, he's already proven. By the end of this episode, though, I kind of want to get to that point. We see Alioth. I can never pronounce that.
Alioth, which is like Goliath, but no G.
No G. And he's in the comics. He's a giant cloud, but he has no true form, technically, when you read about him in the comics. And Sylvie kind of states he's the guard dog, but he eats everything.
Yeah, all the variant energy, basically.
Yes. So any living organism is essentially going to be devoured by him. So he comes around, and we get all of our people together. We get Classic Loki, Alligator, Kid, Mobius, our Loki, and Sylvie all kind of huddled together okay, what's our plan? And she wants to enchant it.
Yeah,
she thinks she can.
Well, I love that Loki's plan is kill it, and they're all this is a terrible plan, but okay, we're gonna help you, And then Sylvie shows up and she's like, that's a terrible plan. And they were all like, yeah, we kind of thought that too. I love that. But I don't necessarily think that her plan is much better.
Not by much, like a hair better.
Right. It's like, I understand what she's trying to get to. And of course, when she first showed up, she did connect to it briefly. And so that, I think, is what planted the seed in her mind of doing this.
Exactly. And that helped her. And so they go into the fight. And I will say this. Classic Loki's a G. He is a G. Well, and I love that like you said, that was pretty much a throw to Jack Kirby. That whole remaking, I get that Asgard essentially. Yeah. That was just all Jack Kirby, I felt like. As we see the towers rise, I'm like, this was beautiful. And we see, though, how powerful a Loki can be with his illusion magic. Or what does he call it? The duplication magic, he even says. So I don't know what that one would be, if that was illusion or whatever. Sure. But it was really, I want to say first, it was so cool. And I love how the line glorious purpose keeps coming up in this episode. And as classic Loki is about to die, glorious purpose, he screams out. And laughs. That was such a cool laugh at the end, too. I was like, oh, I love this Loki. He's so badass. I want more of him.
And
I want it.
The question is going to come up, did he die? Or was that another illusion? If he could create an illusion of himself so strong to fool Thanos, could he create one so strong to fool Goliath? And
he was creating a strong enough one that it was distracted completely by this Asgard that it thought was there now.
So I wanna back up just a little bit to the quiet scene with Loki and Sylvie, where they kind of like they're doing like like that wasn't that special of a moment. Yeah. And, like they're kind of playing around with it, and I just have to say, maybe it was just me.
Okay.
But Loki conjures a blanket for himself because they talk about it being cold, and he like kind of says he can conjure one for her, and at first he doesn't, but then he just kind of conjures a bigger one that goes. This was like the classic. We're in the movie theater, like yes. It just was 100%. Like it felt like an awkward teenager trying to like put his I'm just stretching, and I just my arm ended up around you. Like it was.
I'm slick like that.
It was so funny because I was just like, this is so like this is literally he doesn't know how to do this because he's never felt this way about anyone, and so it was just really funny.
It really was, and I loved it. I think it was amazing. The scene, because it's so awkward.
And I love her being like, this blanket's not even that comfortable. Like, what?
She just starts dissing on it. It's like, he's like, it's a blanket. Yeah, well,
it doesn't really feel like one.
Man, she's just like dissing on his little blanket. He's just trying to be like, slick, I've got this. And she's like, what? Okay.
All right, so re-forward.
Okay.
So they do, as classic Loki sacrifices himself, which he may have done. He may be dead.
I think he is.
They finally, they team up. Sylvie basically tells our Loki, we're going to do this together. We're going to chance him together. And he's like, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yes, you do. Because you're Loki. And if I can do it, that means you can do it. So we're going to do it together. We're going to,
I don't know how I felt about that part, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I like it because I understand what they're saying is like, a Loki will have these powers.
Yeah.
But he's never tapped into it before. He's never practiced it. He doesn't know how to do it. And so maybe having someone there to help guide him, maybe that, would work. Moment of crisis, it's like the mom, mom strength.
Adrenaline,
it's kind of like maybe that's, whatever. But they accomplish it. They're able to enchant a lot.
And how do you hold a cloud? Like, they were literally holding a cloud. It's like,
I don't know.
Okay.
They just
let it slide, and then he gets enchanted, and we see something.
Yeah, it looks like
it's a citadel,
a portal, a doorway to. It looks like a castle. I mean, it looks like a castle.
It looks like it does. It could be Doomstead.
It could be.
And I'm gonna go with Dr. Doom.
I am pretty confident at this point it's not Dr. Doom.
No, it could be.
It could be. I'm pretty confident it's not.
1% chance, maybe.
I think obviously there's been a lot of allusions to Kang.
Right.
Just like in WandaVision, there was a lot of allusions to Mephisto, and we didn't get Mephisto.
No.
I think
Mephisto.
we're only 3 shows in, so it's hard to say there's a pattern. Right.
Of the lies?
Well, no. Just it's hard. Usually a pattern has to be a little bit longer than 2 shows. But if you look at the first 2 shows that Disney Plus has put out, WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier, the twisty bad character is someone we've already been introduced to. Right. So in WandaVision, it was Agatha all along. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, the power broker was Sharon Carter. Like, as they throw this twist at you of, there's been this villain this whole time, and who's the big bad, so they've been seeding who's behind the TVA, who's behind the TVA, who's behind the TVA.
So it's
and they've been doing this. No.
Okay.
My theory, and this is not an original one because I did see this, but I thought of it before I saw it.
Okay.
It's another Loki. It's a variant of a different Loki. And I think that Loki, for whatever reason, and I couldn't tell you why, made the choice that he wanted, like, this was the best way for the universe to exist, was to have himself be kind of a sacrificial lamb and feed into his own tendencies, and that was going to bring out the best in other people, and that would be best for the universe. So this is a Loki who's actually transcended. He's a good Loki, and he's made this choice to do that. That's my theory, is that I think it's a Loki who has done this, because that would fit with the running theme of, like, this is someone we know. And nobody else in the show really strikes me as someone that it would be, like, I don't think it's Miss Minutes. And so, like, if they were to introduce, again, I mean, we've only got one episode left, and we've got stuff with Mobius and the TVA to wrap up. We've got, we've got so much to wrap up. So
it would make sense.
Like, we have to wrap up who's behind the TVA.
Yeah.
And if, like, they save that for a final 10-minute reveal, are we really going to get Doctor Doom or Kang for 10 minutes at the end of a 6-episode, mini-series? And like, I don't think it'll happen. I think they're going to give us someone that we're already familiar with.
Yeah. And this is what I will say. I would love for it to be Doctor Doom or Mephisto in some way. Mephisto would make more sense, being magic, etc., than someone like Doctor Doom, because Doctor Doom doesn't control time. I mean, he does have sorcery powers and is able to, go up against Doctor Strange almost with no problem.
I would say Kang makes the most sense.
Well, see, here's my problem with Kang, though. Kind of like what you said. Are we really going to bring out Kang and somehow destroy the TVA under his nose in 10 minutes? And that's why I don't think this is that. So there's a couple of things I've read up. It could be the Citadel of Kang, which is his castle, or it could be I can't remember the exact name for the Timekeeper's castle, but it's like it's the guy who created the Timekeepers, which is his Citadel. But the problem being, of course, is that the Timekeepers are real in the comics, and these were robots, which still could be like, well, he still created androids, so it's still creation of life, depending where you go with that.
Yep.
So I'm thinking either it is going to be this Timekeeper castle, I can't remember the name of it, or what I'm thinking is we may not get a true closing with it. As much as I want to say anyone else, the only other one that I could think of, before I actually go on the other theory, is somehow Tutau, the Watcher. Watu. I say Utau. The Watcher. Essentially.
You say it wrong.
I do, because I can't say names. We've already got over this. Okay. So, I think somehow it's him. Now, the only reason I say that is because he watches everything.
Right.
They watch, they do, they record, they monitor.
Don't intervene.
Exactly. They don't intervene. We've been shown them once in not even a post-credit, it was a flyby, or was it a post-credit?
Well, yeah, it was.
I can't remember.
It was both a flyby and then we got an extended post-credits, because that was in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with Stan Lee, where he was like, that was his final, like, one of the post-credit scene was him, like, telling the Watchers all about
his stories,
his different stories,
which they make basically Stan Lee the Watcher as well, because he's connected,
or at least he works for them.
He works for them.
Some sort of informant.
I'm thinking it's them. Either it's not him himself, or maybe his race, and they're somehow behind it because they're not supposed to interfere. So they make this time variance, the TVA, and they're like, "Well, we're not interfering. It's them doing it, but we kind of just push the cog a little bit."
Right.
And I think it's them somehow. Okay. And the only reason I think that is because, again, he does interfere in the comics. He straight up does. So I think them, but I really think at the end, my other theories is we're just never going to know. They're going to get there, they're going to find the shadowy figure running off kind of thing.
No.
It could be. That's the only way it'll be Kang, is if it runs off.
They're going to give us an answer. Whether it's an answer we like, I can't say that.
The engineer from WandaVision.
But we are going to get an answer for who this character is.
Yeah. I mean, I want to know what other people think too, because Loki's a good answer. I think that's a really good call, because that would make an easy kill villain that you don't. Oh, he's dead. Okay, no.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, I think that's why I like that theory, is because this whole series has been about Loki confronting himself.
Yeah, that's the ultimate
and confronting the choices he's made, why he makes those choices, how he could be different. I mean, you look at all the different variants, you look at Sylvie, like all these things. This series has been about, what is your destiny, and can you, do you have free will? Can you do something different? And all that stuff. So to confront himself again and find out that it was himself that set him on this path and said, this is your destiny. I would find that super fascinating.
It would be. That's why I like yours more. I'm gonna put money on the Watchers. That's why I'm gonna say some money over there.
It's okay. I'll take your money.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of odds am I getting?
Not very much, because there's no money. Maybe a penny. It would be interesting though if they throw us that curveball that somehow it is Kang. I don't think they'll do it, but I will be very happy if somehow a silhouette of Kang is somewhere, or even we visit Japan, or not Japan, Egypt. I mean, where we see Pharaoh Kang, and I'm like, ooh. And even if it's just like a portal opening up to Egypt and it's like Pharaoh times or whatever, I would be like, ooh, are we doing it? And if it's cuts there, cool. We lead into Kang's arrival.
Could be.
But on that note, guys, let us know down below what you think too. Who is the main villain behind the TVA? Who do you think is pulling all the strings? And what do you think is going to happen? Because we got one more week, and then that's it. And then we move on to August, which will have What If.
What If? Yeah.
That's the only one in August, right?
I think so. Yeah, they haven't really.
September.
They haven't really announced all of their TV shows, so we know What If is coming in August. Obviously, Black Widow has just debuted. Shang-Chi is September.
Yeah.
We think we're supposed to get, I believe, both Hawkeye and Miss Marvel sometime, and we know we're getting Eternals in November and Spider-Man in December.
And I heard rumors they were pushing Spider-Man, but I don't know. I heard a random rumor about that. Who knows?
But I just, they're going to try and fit these in, you would think, in between movies or that type of thing. So I could see that, maybe sometime after, Shang-Chi comes out in early September, maybe we'll get like a mid to late September debut date for either Miss Marvel or the Hawkeye series. And then the other one, maybe in between Eternals and Spider-Man, like in late November, mid to late November. That's kind of what I'm guessing, but
makes sense.
They haven't really said which order they're going to be in. I think Hawkeye is going to come first.
I think so.
Based on the shooting schedules and everything that they did. That's what I would expect.
So, let us know. And, of course, guys, stay geeky and get your geek on. And don't forget to subscribe.
Bye.